I'm just dying in your arms tonight. It must have been something you said. I'm just dying in your arms tonight. How much was it?
Fuck, it was expensive for
Dude,
tequila.
tequila is getting so fucking expensive. I was talking to somebody about this the other day, like how much more expensive tequila's gotten.
Yeah.
And like it's getting allocated. It's just becoming the next whiskey. And I'm like,
yeah.
I've been wanting to try the Añejo though.
Have you tried it before? None of it? They make a reposado?
They make a reposado. I've never had it. All I've had is the Blanco. Because I have that bottle of Blanco. Because I gave you a bottle of Blanco, didn't I?
Is that El Tesoro in the like square?
That's a Lalo.
That's it. Yeah.
I thought I gave you an El Tesoro at one point. I feel like I gave you a reposado or an Añejo for something. I don't remember
there was a reposado. It's got the little agave plant, like the cut agave plant for the cork.
I don't remember.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, but it's not El Tesoro.
No, it's not. I think it starts with an R. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll think of it later.
I like El Tesoro a lot. It's another really good one.
I've never tried it. Will was recommending it a lot.
Yeah, El Tesoro's bomb.
And
their Blanco's bomb.
Is this one pretty allocated? El Tesoro?
It's getting harder and harder to find for sure.
Oh.
And it's just becoming like that Tequila Ocho, Siete, the one, gosh, what is that one called?
Yeah, you find it. It's really funny. I got this because Will was like hyping it up a bunch because he's a big tequila fan, and he was like, bro. So he got me, I think the last tequila we tried on the podcast was the Corazon, aged in Blanton's barrels.
Super solid.
And that one's very good. And Will got me a bottle of that, and he liked it a lot too. But he was like, bro, I just tried a new one at my dad's called El Tesoro. He's like, dude, if you come across it, dude, you should get a bottle. And I was like, okay. And like, it just happened to like be somewhere and they had it. And I was like, okay, cool. I'll snag a bottle.
Yeah.
I was like, I honestly don't know if it's allocated or not because it's tequila. So
yeah, I don't know if it's like fully allocated, but
super. Yeah.
But it's becoming tough to find for sure.
But yeah, I was like, yeah, sure, I'll grab a bottle. And then, and it was definitely more expensive for tequila, but, it's really funny. When I was back in St. Louis for the, baby shower, I saw Jake Frericks from college, and he was always a big tequila fan, and we both started talking. He ordered at our baby shower. He ordered us, I think, double shots of Una Vida.
Love that.
So, I mean, what else? Yeah, what else do you do at a baby shower?
Yeah, naturally.
And I was like, no way, man. I'm like, do you like the Una Vida stuff? He's like, yeah, Fortaleza. That's what it is. Yeah. That's
bomb.
Super good. Yeah, I haven't opened. You got that for me for my 30th birthday, and we drank some that day. I haven't opened it since.
Yeah,
that one's very good.
Yeah.
But Frericks I was like, telling him, I was like, oh man, do you like the Una Vida stuff? And he was like, yeah, dude, he's like local St. Louis company. I'm like, dude, we actually like know one of the guys that's like part owner in that company and like love to support him. He's like, dang, that's really cool. He's like, all right, as good as Una Vida is, man, you got to look for this other tequila. If you ever find it, it's called El Tesoro. Yeah. Super good. And I'm like, it's really funny is I've never tried it, but I have a bottle. So.
That's hilarious. Yeah, no, that's their Blanco. Even their Blanco has been one of my favorites. I like it a ton. It's super good. Blig, 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 blig. It's decently light for an Añejo.
It really is.
Kind of curious about that. It smells really good.
Let me grab my water. You got your squirt bottle.
I got a squirt gun. I don't know. I'm gonna check it. I don't think it needs it personally.
No water at all?
It's pretty good, man.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, the back end is really, it's got that like kind of vanilla-y, but not too much.
No, it's super good.
Yeah. Not much bite to that one at all.
No, that's what I was saying. Like, it really isn't bad at all. Dang, that's yummy.
Do you want me to leave this photo of Dalton Kaufman up on Instagram for the...
Yes. Shirtless Dalton Kaufman.
For those that aren't watching.
I mean, hey, man. I
those
was going to look at a guy shirtless. He's up there.
He's a good-looking guy.
Yeah, he looks good.
For sure. For those that aren't watching, Thomas just put a pillow on his lap.
Just for comfort.
Yeah, I get it.
What were you getting at?
Just want to make sure people know your comfort level.
Welcome to the podcast.
Episode 27.
27.
You get just me and Thomas today.
Boo.
Yep. I'm sure we got some interesting stuff to talk about. I don't know what it is, but...
I'm curious whether people prefer guests or just us. I feel like the guest ones can be like informative and kind of like, ooh, informational, which is just another way to say informative. And then us, it's just kind of like, we could be good background noise. You know what I mean? Like you're doing the dishes and you're just listening to us
yeah.
BS about
Go
stuff,
ahead and
talk
get
about
to
tequila.
Yeah, go ahead and get to your chores if you'd like.
Yeah.
Unload
the dishwasher.
Yeah. They've been playing all the episodes at Quail, and if I'm in there and the customer walks in, I look like a total asshole.
Yeah. That's funny because I just hung a poster of myself in Yukon. So. Just kidding. That'd be funny though.
You guys got some goofy posters back there.
Yeah. Will, I love Will to death. Man, we're going to start by making fun of Will. I love Will to death, and he's got such a good heart. But you know when people come in to the store and they're just trying to sell, like whatever, they're raising money, and that's all well,
chocolate bars.
Yeah, like the chocolate, but it's usually like the weirder stuff that like Will always seems to like find his way into getting. My personal favorite one is this like holographic poster, like literally as you walk past it like flutters and changes different colors, and it's got a picture of Jesus on it, and then it's got some like like Chinese quote on there from I don't know the quote or the guy, but it's like it's just such an odd combination because like the quote doesn't have anything to do with Jesus. I don't know. So it's just an interesting thing. And like Will I just didn't have the heart to tell the guy no, so I bought it. Okay.
I feel like I remember being there when he bought that.
You could have been.
I think that was early on when I was hanging out in the back and helping out when you guys got busy. And I'm pretty sure I remember the conversation, like vaguely hearing like what was going on up front, but not really. And Will came back and was like, yeah, he's like, it was just a guy trying to sell stuff. He's like, he had like posters of like Jesus and Buddha and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. He's like, yeah, I bought one.
How much was it? $35. I don't know how much it was.
I think he said he paid $20 for it. Oof. It's holographic Jesus though.
Holographic Jesus has blessed the back of the Yukon store ever since.
That's true.
It is. It's kind of a centerpiece for us.
Dude, once things go up, they don't usually come down either. There's stuff still in Norman that's hanging up.
Mm-hmm.
We still got Digbert,
employee of the month, or roommate of the month.
Who was what kind of dog was that?
I think it's a Shih Tzu or something.
Yeah, that was a meme that was going around for a while. Yeah. Like got really popular, and then I don't know who decided to hang it up.
Me, yeah, for sure. So I printed out the meme of Digbert and hung it up, and then I forget what happened, but it was like the meme got posted again, and they like tagged the actual owner of like Digbert, and I was like, oh, that's funny. And so I just took a picture of Digbert hanging on our back wall and sent it to the owner and was like, hey, Digbert is the reason we do what we do. And they were a really big fan of that. They thought it was hilarious.
They replied to everything.
Yeah, they did. They said they showed Digbert the picture and he seemed really thrilled about it. And I'm like,
Nice.
you get it. We'll do it for, and it says do it for Digbert underneath the meme for him. And that's what we do it for.
Yeah, it warms my heart to know that Digbert's seen that.
Digbert literally, well, I'm going to believe, in my heart of hearts, I believe Digbert has seen it.
Yeah. No, you could probably convince me that he didn't, but I'm gonna choose to believe.
Me too.
Yeah, I think that's for the best.
It's the only thing keeping me going.
So how are things in UConn?
Good, busy.
Yeah,
Things have been really solid though. Yeah, no complaints at all. We string of busy days, just keeping it going. It's been a big blessing for us for sure, man. Just like, you know, it can be tough, like the growing pains, you know, like they definitely can exist of it just being busy and be a lot and like keeping up. And still, I think for us, it's like worry and making sure that we give the full triad experience and try to give like as much as we can to each person. And so it's a cool thing and always a nerve-wracking thing too, when you kind of get to that point where you start to kind of like, oh, we still can, but like, it's kind of getting close to where like it's getting more difficult. And so that's obviously like a super exciting thing for the company and for us. But it is, you know, there are still pains that come along with it. And so, but it's super exciting.
Yeah. No, I think we're going to be trying to bump up the overlap right now. It's one person from 9 until 1 p.m., 2 people from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m., and then one person from 7 to 9 p.m.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're going to try and bump that probably from 12 to 8, do you think?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Do you think we need to now? I was actually going to I was going to check in with you on this. Why not on the podcast?
Yeah.
Right?
I think we're still in that like, do we need it? Based off the last like 4 days, yes, but a 4-day, you know, like little split of it is, it's like we're still in a we can handle it zone, but it's in the like the days are numbered. I would say that for sure.
Definitely by the beginning of next year.
Oh yeah, I think we're looking like, if we stay on the pace that we're at, I think we're looking like the next month or the month after, kind of deal. Like, well, it's the 21st. So you know what I mean? Like a month from now.
I do think we're seeing a kind of a bump in sales company wide too.
Yeah, for sure.
UConn's UConn's continued to grow. Which is really cool. Like even in some of the more traditional, slightly slower months where we start to kind of see a little bit, some dips, UConn's still setting records, which is crazy.
Yeah. It's great. Chalk it up to the team too. Like everybody out there is just out here, I guess. It's just they do so much hard work and between sampling and just store interactions and whatever. It's like there's a reason why, you know, we're seeing the stuff that we're seeing, and they put in a ton of work to do it. So
it's an accumulation of so many little things, man. Yeah. But yeah, man, I think it's funny that I feel like our seasons are just a little bit different every year. Where sometimes we see a little bit of a pickup in the fall, man. Obviously I don't think we're technically in fall yet, but
not today.
No, at 100 degrees, I don't care what you're telling me the season is. We're still in summer. But yeah, it seems like we're getting back into like school's starting. It seems like everybody's kind of getting past their summer vacations, back in more of a routine.
Yeah,
like
getting in the groove again.
Yeah. Like we expect to be picking up at Norman, and Norman's been crazy recently. Yeah. They're having some stressful days down there.
Especially with the AC issues.
AC was out. They had a POS not working yesterday, and in a shorter day, almost half the amount of hours we're usually open, we're setting pretty a high sales day.
Yeah, I think it was the highest sales we potentially ever done on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And did it with no air conditioning and one of the POS is not working. Glad I wasn't there.
I asked Preston about it today. I was like, hey man, like, could you guys have like used some help? Like, would you like have really needed some help? He's like, man, honestly, it was a decent pace at like when people were coming in. So
that's what's tough, man, is like, it's just like anything, your expectation just changes. And so what typically happens is it's just less in between moments, but it's like as the store gets busier, you also learn to handle more. And so that's where it's kind of a tough thing. Like if you were to put the amount of interactions and things that we're having right now, if you were to put that 6 months ago, we couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's like our ability to handle it kind of grows, I think, at a similar rate to as we get busy. And I think it just becomes a point where it's like, there's no way. Yeah, it's an interesting thing.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, I'm moving my pillow around. Yeah, no, I think it's partially like where you've talked about before with, when you first see that bump up, it's a lot of times it's newer customers adding to the existing customers, and those take a lot of time.
Sure.
And then they become repeat customers, and then they're easier. But yeah, I think part of it too is you just kind of adjust, man. Like I remember, Alyssa called me out on this one. This was a while ago whenever it was only Quail, and Alyssa was starting to work at the store, and I was still putting a decent amount of hours in, and we had... All right, here's what happened. When we added an overlap at Quail Springs, we just decided, because it's so sporadic, to do like on when your busy times are, is to just do 2 people open to close every day. We just decided double up the staff, and it is what it is. And payroll got pretty high. When we did that, when we were seeing, a record month, we made that decision in a record month. And then we kind of like went back and forth. So I had some months and we adjusted to it being busier. So we ended up scaling back on that and putting the overlap more in the middle hours of the day, which isn't always when it's busy, but it is on an average, that is when it's more busy, is more in the middle hours of the day. So when we did that, I think it was opening one morning, and you're open for a couple hours by yourself. And I was so used to having another person. But Alyssa was up there with me, and she was working in the back, and I would get a second person in the store, and I'd start freaking out because I'm like, I can't give them the same amount of attention that I used to be able to give because it's just me here now. And it had been a long enough time where I was used to having a second person that I got like stressed. I'm like, Alyssa, can you help me out? Like, I've got a second person in the store. And she's like, every other employee does fine with 2 people. Yeah. Okay, fine. Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, we did used to do that, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, it's just like, it's a unique thing that definitely happens. It's like you kind of, you just have to meet what's in front of you, and you just kind of get adjusted to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the other stores are doing great
too.
Everybody seems to be doing good.
Quail's doing a pretty good pace. And I think August might be like, for the year, it might be one of our busier months. Yeah. Which is dope.
Yeah. It's super cool, man. Cause it's not like, I think if I were to like write down what I thought would be the busiest months, I don't like, if I was, a layman to just supplement trends in general, I don't know if I'd pick August to be like the one. You think people would be like, oh, summer's over. They kind of are like getting out of it. Like they don't care as much. It's like, oh man, we actually pick up quite a bit during that time.
Yeah. We have at least a little bit in the past, but not quite like we have this year, or at least what we've been seeing over the last week or so. Yeah. Like, I think last year, Norman, so August was the busiest month for Norman last year, but not for the company. And more traditionally, it's been January and May have been really big months for us. First of the year,
and then it's May.
Yes, that's exactly right, and like, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, but yeah, it isn't always, man. Like sometimes we see a decent month in May. Like there was one year, I think it was 2020, and it was like quarantine kind of messed with everything and everybody's routine in the season a little bit. And it was like May was a record month, then June was another record month, and June can kind of go either way. And then it was like, okay, we're getting into July. July's usually a dip, like it starts to kind of see a little bit of a dip as far as the seasons go. And July just saw another record month. And I'm like, keep it going.
Yeah, right. Let's go.
Yeah, you just never know, man.
Yeah.
A little different every year.
It is. It's very interesting too. Like I think one of the interesting perspectives, I was kind of having a conversation with somebody about this, like outside of like our coworkers, which is always kind of an interesting thing, is going into what will be the beginning of the 9th year. correct?
Yeah.
The 9th year
In November.
the start of the 9th year is happening, which is crazy. But you realize like you have a pretty good like track of like, you got plenty of receipts to kind of see how things typically go. And that's kind of an interesting thing because it's obviously not something you have until you have it. And so it's been very interesting. Like we've been able to kind of, obviously we've always kept an eye on trends and kind of what happened, but now it's like, we got a decent amount of data to kind of look at when it comes to trends and what we think is going to happen and
store growth from year to year.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. It does make it a lot easier to make decisions when you have a track record like that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You got to still anticipate totally different responses or totally different results from everything though. It follows general trends, but you never know, especially with a new store, new season, new stuff going on. So,
well, and I think one of the biggest things is how much year to year the supplement industry itself changes.
True.
Changes a bunch.
So here's a really interesting one. This is I think been a big shift over the last, man, you could say maybe 5 years. I think it's arguable. I think you could say at least 5 years, if not 10 or even maybe 20. And I think it definitely started with the internet. But there are a lot more direct to consumer based brands now. Sure. What I mean by that is traditionally a lot of brands, especially prior to the internet, which is ages ago, obviously, was you made your money selling like to retailers, right? So, whether that's small mom and pops to GNC to Walmart, it's that's how you're getting your brand out there.
Right.
And I think some online, but it usually was a mix of both. And I think retailers did well with just about any brand because all brands were set up to have to be able to make sure retailers were making a margin on it, right? They were accounting for that. Where now brands can blow up overnight and only be online, which is crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think with like you're saying, like the internet, and I think like social media obviously has such a huge thing to do with it because people have this space now to be able to do that. Where it's like these people who you wouldn't necessarily know for any other reason besides like their social media popularity. Now that has become like a platform for them to, go to these like making these DTC products and having these like whole companies that can be really successful. And it's like you almost start out direct to consumer and then sometimes work your way into retail,
which is what we see a lot of times now. But it's just kind of funny because they operate differently. And I heard this was actually, I think it was Price Plow, which they do a lot of reviews on supplements. And it's fun to keep up with their stuff. I think they've got pretty good stuff. I do think that they work out deals with, hopefully I'm not giving away their secrets, but I think it's pretty obvious. They work out deals with like different brands like get paid to promote, but they're usually pretty, I think they've got their standards and certain rules and guidelines they follow. But they were doing a podcast with some big exec at Vitamin Shop. And they were talking about the difference in these hype brands, like these D2C brands that survive so much on hype, and it's almost a good thing for them to run out of stock because it just hypes up the brand. You limit the supply so you can naturally increase the demand that way, obviously, if you play it right.
I want to sell out in 45 seconds.
Right. It's a good thing for them. For us, not necessarily, because we get some hype, but how we build our continuous income is by always having stuff in stock. So when you need to grab your stuff, we've got it. And that's what, it was just funny to hear that's been Vitamin Shop's approach to things and how they're adjusting to the D2C and the hype-based brands and how they're trying to use, be able to get these brands in that everybody's looking for. It's like, man, or really start to venture away from the stuff that like they're staples in their store and start to be a little bit more maneuverable and a little bit more flexible and quick to, bring in these, these brands that have a lot of hype and they're, selling really quickly and are D2C, and they're really trying to leverage that a lot. And it's just funny to hear that, because it's like, dude, we've been doing that for years.
Yeah, right.
Like, we started
for a long time.
Right. And I think we're in a position where, we're not dealing with hundreds of stores, so we can make decisions and make changes much more quickly.
Right.
But it all stems from not necessarily this master plan of, we need to shift the way we do things. One, we were in a position where we were just kind of barely scraping by. So it's like, okay, like we need to make some changes. Like, we're not really, risking a whole lot here. And a big thing was I was getting tired of people coming in and asking for stuff that we didn't have. And so we started to bring in more brands and bigger varieties and work with especially a lot of loss leaders. And for those that don't know, that's when you bring in a product and you sell it for exactly what you make it for, but it gets someone in the door. So it's
you ain't make no money on it.
You make no money on it. In a way, free advertising, but you do miss out when you make that sale. Obviously, like you're potentially missing out on a margin you should be, making to be able to pay your bills. But we started kind of doing that, and we got more and more and more, and we started really diving into it, and even working with some brands that were strictly D2C. And Alyssa's the key factor in this. Mm-hmm. We were working with some that were D2C and did not have a wholesale program, and we were just applying as many discount codes and buying in as big of a bulk to give us bigger discounts to be able to just cover at least the shipping to get the stuff to us and not lose money when we're reselling it in the store for the same price they are online.
Right.
So it continued to build this reputation, or at least that's what was the goal, to build the reputation of Triad has everything.
Yeah.
Like all the brands, all the hype brands that you're seeing on TikTok, on Instagram, this and that, you can walk in and expect to see it in a Triad.
That's so fun. I don't want to name brands or anything, but we were doing this so much at one point that companies were doing like giveaways for people buying like their D2C products. And we were buying so much that like we won a big TV one time. Like
that TV right there.
Yeah, the TV that's in here, like we literally won off of like a raffle because
you get
our name got entered so many times because we were literally buying wholesale from like essentially with discount codes from their D2C website.
The TV just showed up and we're like, what the heck?
Yeah, we didn't even know there was a competition going, like a raffle going. That's so funny. I was like, oh, we got our name in enough times.
Yeah.
So,
but no, we've done that with multiple brands that eventually become like you were talking about earlier. Once they kind of cap out their D2C and they start to realize and get to the point where they can support more volume and make smaller margins and start to do wholesale, then we're able to start making those wholesale dollars, and then all these other stores pick it up. But it's like Triad's had it since day one.
Right. We've had it for a while.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, there's like how many brands can you name that we've done that? Like it's been a bunch.
Yeah. I can think of two very instrumental ones right off the bat.
Yeah. It's just funny. Sometimes you just got to get creative and kind of do what you have to do. But it's funny how like those decisions like have formed, it's really interesting how many decisions out of desperation, right? Because I feel like in those moments of desperation in business, you can go one of two ways. You can kind of go like the let's try to figure something else out and let's try to, try something new. And then I think there's kind of like the more like skeezy route that I think businesses go sometimes where they're kind of like desperate. So they like lose their morals and start like pushing sales or like doing whatever. And so I think it's really interesting because I think something that has paid us as a company back time and time again is in those moments of desperation is to like continue to stay who we are and add additional things that become big values for us later, as opposed to like changing like our character and trying to like do something a way different than we do. It's like, okay, cool. Well, like, we aren't going to push things still. That's still not going to be our thing. Like that's why we're here. So let's find a different thing. Like let's be the store that always has something new, that always has like, oh, you just saw this on Instagram today, coming to try it. And I bet we have it. Like, and that has become such a big staple of, like who we are, like a key characteristic of our company now. And it's just funny because I think it's cool to look in retrospect at these times where we could have made, you could have made or whatever, like decisions that could have negatively affected us. And it's like, I think because we have always stayed true to like what we believe in, I think we've found ways to be not just innovative, but also like create like landmark characteristics of the company itself.
No, it can be a fine line, and it's you have to pick and choose, because you can't just implement everything, because some things would interfere with the core principles, the core business model.
Yep.
But something like bringing in brands that are popular, we don't make a margin on it, and I won't say a lot of times, but at least some of the time, the formula is not great, and it's
Sure.
So for 3 different reasons, we're not recommending that product a lot. And you could look at that from the outside, and it's like, well, why would you have a product that you don't like the formula on, you don't make? Well, it's bringing people in the door. And,
because otherwise I don't have a chance.
Right. And since day one, it has always been our job to make sure that we're recommending the best products for each individual customer that comes in, and having new popular brands in may make that a little tougher, but we're getting a bigger audience. We're getting more people in the door and more chances to be able to. We're getting
more pitches to swing at.
Exactly.
I think that's the key.
It doesn't, something like that, bringing in other brands that we don't necessarily recommend, doesn't interfere with our core principle of being able to help people and recommend the best products.
Right.
Yeah.
It is interesting though, for sure.
Yeah.
Because it is like a counterintuitive thing.
Yeah. No, I've gotten that a lot. Like, and I get it. I probably asked the same question myself whenever I first saw, other people kind of dabbling with that sort of thing. It's just like, why would you carry a brand that you don't think is good at all?
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
it's like, it just doesn't compute for a lot of, exactly.
It's one of those things we've kind of always said this is, it's like, there's certain things out there that aren't the best, but like, I always hang my hat on, like, at least if they're getting it from us, we still have the opportunity to help them. We have the opportunity to, if this is something they really enjoy, hey man, maybe it is for them. Like, and that's fine. Maybe it wouldn't be my favorite, or I'm not a fan of how they do one thing or another, but it's like, it still gives us the opportunity to, show people other options, whether those options are cheaper or better, or better and cheaper. And it's like, having that opportunity is everything, because if I don't have it, then you're just going to go somewhere else that does. And as soon as you go there, like for me, it's like, I know that like I feel safest with you when you're with me. Right. And so it's like, I know that I'm like, or anybody on our staff where it's like, I know what we stand for. I know what we're doing. I know we're not going to trick you. And so if it's like, if we don't have it, that's kind of giving that customer the negative opportunity, I guess, like the bad, like the potential bad chance of like going somewhere that is going to steer them incorrectly, that is going to rip them off or take advantage, because it's such a big thing, man. I think it's such an interesting dynamic, and I get why it has existed the way that it does, but it is so frustrating to like have a commission-based model in an industry that is typically like new to people, where they don't really like understand what they need. And because of that, they're coming in asking for help. And it's like, that is like such a sketchy thing to me. Like, oh, well, ask for help. I'm going to come in and ask for help to somebody who is directly going to like benefit from lying to me.
Right. Yeah. It is crazy how common it is too, like how big of a percentage that the industry is like that.
Sure.
And so, and that's I think that kind of goes along with our commission system a lot, or how our commission system correlates with the structure to the types of products that we bring in is so important as well, because for those that don't know, we run off of something very similar to a profit sharing system where each employee makes a small percent of what their store is doing overall. So if their store is doing better, their paycheck keeps getting bigger and bigger. Right. If their store is starting to decline, their paycheck will get smaller and smaller. So incentive to just generally make sure the store is doing well, but not a whole lot of attachment to each individual transaction. Yeah, exactly. Is I want to, the whole idea is I want to create repeat customers and regular customers, not try and get everything out of every single person that comes in.
Right. Like the difference between you spending $2 and $200 is like a fraction of a penny to me.
Right. Right.
And who cares?
Right. Exactly. But if you have that person, coming in and buying $20 worth of stuff, every 2 weeks, that adds up. And you do that with 100 people.
Right.
That's what makes the difference.
Right.
But the biggest thing there is with the profit sharing system is I feel like it rewards when you do well with somebody, but it doesn't punish you when you do poorly with somebody. Like if someone comes in and, grabs that product that we're talking about that isn't the best quality, we don't make a margin on it, but it's just popular. So, and they just grab it, if they want, if they want to do that, our main job is to just make sure that they're happy and they want to come back,
right.
So you're not being punished if that's what they end up doing, but there is a reward if we can work with them and try and get them on something that would be more beneficial for them.
Right. Which I think is a really big thing because not to give away all the industry secrets, I guess, but there are some a lot of the times how I've heard and, seen different supplement store commission structures is a lot of the time what kind of happens is it's typically some kind of combination of an algorithm. So it's not super straightforward of you make X% on this item and this item and this item and whatever. It's typically, and I've heard from people who've worked at other supplement stores and they always kind of bring up the same couple of things and you're like, okay, this is just how it works.
Yeah,
where it's
the standard.
Right. The standard is one is a minimum transaction amount. So it's a minimum amount of money that somebody's supposed to be spending. So that there might be $70 per transaction. It's always funny because we'll have people who come in that have worked at other supplement stores and they'll come in and just buy a drink or something and they'll be like, hey man, sorry if I'm messing up your minimum transaction amount and
your
I'm
average total sale.
Yeah, your average sale. And I'm like, oh, we don't have that, and they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, no, I don't care if you buy as little or as big as you want. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So it's that. And then there's typically certain products in the store that you have to sell a certain amount of, or a percentage of your transactions have to have XYZ items on it. And then the other one is typically some ratio of different products in the store that you're selling that typically nobody can ever fully explain. And it's just, and whatever. But I think what happens with that is if you hit those three scores, you might make $20 an hour. If you hit two of them and instead of your $70 average transaction, it's $69.99, you're a penny off of it, you make $8 an hour. And so what happens is there's it's kind of a twofold thing where you start making people real desperate on each individual interaction, right? Because it's not if I don't get you to buy this, I'm going to miss out on a couple bucks. It's if I don't get you to buy this, I'm going to miss out on $12 extra an hour for a 40-hour week. Or maybe they do it over 2 weeks. So maybe it's 80 hours times, $12 extra. This is $1,000 off of my paycheck if you don't buy this item right now.
Yeah.
And you start making it, and I think, and I don't know this because I've never had to deal with this really, but it's I think they dangle the carrot just out of reach. So they constantly have their employees pushing the things that they want them to push. And then they never really have to pay out the additional commission.
Yeah.
They just pay them their $8. And so you get this all or bust kind of mentality when it comes to your paycheck. And it's I don't even blame, and it might not even be just specific to supplement stores, but it's I don't even blame the employee sometimes. It's I'm sure they're good people, but when you're in that situation, man, tell me, especially back in the day, how much of a difference an extra $1,000 on a paycheck is going to make for you. Of course you're going to be kind of digging into the depths of you're going to be convincing yourself of people actually do need these things. People are this is actually what they do. I do want them taking.
Yeah.
And you start falling into that. And it's dude, of course you have these desperate people because it could all ride on one interaction. Literally one interaction could make or break everything for you when it comes to your paycheck. And so, man, I think for us, having where it's hey, if you do good, great. If they come in and they just want to enjoy the store and buy whatever they want, and it's not all the things that we are perfect, that's fine too. They're still here.
So I feel like there's two ends of the spectrum to this. So to have a structure where you have brands that are products that are loss leaders, I understand the idea or the need or the feel to need to be able to set a strict commission system in place to make sure that all the employees are pushing what you do want to sell and not pushing what you don't want to sell, right? Like I can understand like, hey, like I'd be really worried we'd start pushing, this brand because it's really popular, but we don't make any money on it. So, but there's the other end of the spectrum that's typically more the mom and pop and is definitely more of the old school method of I've heard so many times from especially now we're getting into wholesale. I don't bring in anything that's below, being able to make a 50% margin, which it used to be more around 40, but like regardless, it's just funny that like they set that in place. And I understand when you're bringing in a brand that doesn't have any awareness. Like if you're working with us, like there's not a whole lot of awareness for Define Nutrition, especially outside of Oklahoma City. Right. It's going to be the only way it moves is if you're recommending it, you need to make a margin on it. But there's stores that legitimately will not bring in anything unless they can make a 50% margin on it or whatever their threshold is. Right. And it's just funny because it's like, dude, you're missing out on so many popular brands that would bring people into your store, 100%. But you don't have any systems in place for your employees. So that is a legitimate worry. So you end up as a customer, you either get the store, the more corporate store that has this structure of commission where all the employees are pushing the only things that they make margins on. Mm-hmm. Hopefully they're good. Yep. Or the store where it's only like all the stuff they carry, they're going to be making X% on, right? And the employees, there's no structure to the employees, so they're just there, right? There you get the, hey,
right.
And not really eager to help you kind of employees. Right. So, where for us, I feel like we found that perfect balance of being able to have all the loss leaders and all the popular stuff and the cool stuff, amongst the stuff that we recommend, and employees that are eager to help you out, but not overbearing.
Right. Well, I think so too. And I think, and then you have a couple of ways of looking at that too, is it's like, is that same model being applied to the stores that do make good margins on everything? So they're just like wanting to push the stuff that make really good margins on, or hoping that because of that, they never have to pay out the additional commission because like they just dangle the carrot outside of reach. Yeah. Like, but the thing to me that has always like struck me as makes zero sense in this situation is I understand on a surface level why a minimum like transaction would exist. I don't agree with it, but I understand why somebody's like a shallow thought process gets to that.
The logic.
Yeah, but it falls apart so fast. And the number one logic that falls apart so fast is my most regular customers at every single store are drink buyers. Mm-hmm. People who come in and want to just buy a drink, right? Totally fine. And why as like an owner or somebody putting something in place would I ever make my employee dread seeing their most regular customers? Yeah. Because when you have that situation, like your most regular customer is screwing your paycheck, screwing it, right? You're dodging those people left and right as much as you can. Why would you ever do that? Because here's the thing, even if I'm like in full Scrooge McDuck mode of like, I just money, right? Like I tell you what, every single person who has been a regular drink buyer, all of them, I can't think of a single one that has ever not bought something else at some point. Right. Like they're still coming in and buying other things at times.
Right. So when you're sitting in this high exec position, you're not in the stores, I'm sure it's easy to see like, oh, it's okay if they come in. Like it's obviously not bad if someone comes in and just buys a drink. Right. But the idea here is obviously we want to try and be incentivizing the employees to be selling more than just an energy drink, right? Well, when you do that, obviously you turn into what you talked about is you start to make the employees dread seeing those people, and then it becomes tension, and they stop wanting to come in, right?
Right, because it's a non-welcoming place anymore,
and you lose out, and you'll even see companies or stores that they'll have energy drinks, and they do it similar to us. They carry them for next to nothing, like super cheap energy drinks. We're not convenient, but we are the cheapest on everything, and most of our energy drinks we don't make any money on, right? So. And the big reason we do that is, again, just like all our other loss leaders, is to get people in the door. And especially with energy drinks and snacks fall into this as well, is we're getting them in frequently as well. So number one, if they're going to buy supplements, they're probably going to do it from the place that they're at every other day on average. Number two, it makes the store look busier too. Supplement stores aren't that crazy busy. And it definitely adds a little bit more hype to it. Like if other customers are coming in and they see other people in.
1,000%.
If they're constantly the only person in there, they start to question why nobody else is shopping there.
Dude, Ryan has something.
Yeah.
And a slight side note, I was an energy drink buyer, and that was exclusively what I did.
Right.
And I ended up finding a job here. And I mean, I think I was an energy drink buyer, and I was like finally looking for like carb product.
Right.
And I went to Alfonso and ended up getting Core Intra. And so that led me into trying other supplements and then end up getting a job here.
Right. And it's like, and all because we were excited to see you as a drink buyer. Like you didn't cost me $1,000 off of my paycheck to come in and become my friend, which is like the most mind blowing part of this too, is like drink buyers at the store, the regular, every day, every other day, sometimes multiple times a day. Travis Ingram talking to you. But it's like, I see you so frequently that you literally become a friend. I see you more than I see most people in my life. And like, I think the perfect example of this, of why it all falls apart and why this logic is like so silly to me, is one person perfectly embodies this. And that is Dylan Singletary. Dylan Singletary, love him to death. Norman, regular, literally lives with one of our employees, lives with Preston, right? They're roommates now. All because he was a drink buyer. Came into the store, bought drinks. He just buys an energy drink in a bar almost every single day.
And he works at a gym.
So he works at a gym.
How, those are the people that you want talking about you as well.
And guess who doesn't take supplements at all?
Dylan Singletary.
Dingle
Singletary.
Dingle Singleberry. Old Dingle Singleberry. Dylan Singletary does not take supplements.
Yeah.
I cannot begin to count how many customers have come and checked us out because of Dylan, because Dylan has recommended us, or somebody has asked him, like, cause he works out, power lifter, but less of a power lifter now, I think, but like does a lot of endurance stuff, like does all super athletic, like in the fitness community guy, right? A lot of people know Dylan, but it's like, if we were dreading every time he came in, he wouldn't want to come in. He'd go to the 3 gas stations that he passes on the way to come and see us.
Yeah.
And it's like, we would have missed out on, dude, I would bet to say we would have 200 less customers if it weren't for him. Yeah. And it's like, all for somebody who like has literally never bought another product in the store.
Right. It's the thing that, and I've got one note and then a question for Ryan, but he's got to pull his shorts down. His tan line showing.
Show it on camera. Let the people want to see it.
Here's the thing. I think that most, not even just supplement stores, but so many businesses, I feel like just completely forget about, is you as a business have a reputation. Yes. And how you treat your people, how what the relationship that you have with your customers goes such a long way. It dictates how often they're coming in, if they're even coming back at all.
1,000%.
And it dictates how much they're talking about you, how much they're going to recommend you to their friends if they're asking about it.
Right.
Yeah. So question, going back to the Alfonso thing, if when you were coming in and buying your energy drinks, if Alfonso, let's say we put him in a situation where he does have to track the average sale and has to make sure that each ticket has an average of a certain dollar amount. So energy drinks are hurting that. If he has a reason to be annoyed at you coming in and buying energy drinks, would you have been likely to go to him if he was annoyed with you coming in and was trying to upsell you on things, maybe not all the time, but regularly? Would you have gone to him for the recommendation on a carb product?
Probably not. I think it's kind of hard to say because I was also paying him as a coach at the time.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
And so there's a few levels to it, but
you can understand where you're coming from. If we were constantly making it an uncomfortable situation, like you could tell I was dreading the fact you were coming in and just buying drinks.
No, I appreciate that you're being honest with it. Would you have hired him as your coach if he was that way?
Probably not.
No.
There you go. Would you have wanted to come back in at all if that was the case?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like
Depends
it
on
was
how openly we were dreading it.
It's hard to say, like, because obviously, like
it's quite a few years ago for one. So it's trying to remember back that time. But I know, I mean, at the time I was buying a lot of my drinks either from GNCs or even I would buy them from 3D themselves and have them shipped.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't heard about Tried at the time. He DM'd me and said, "Hey, FYI, we carry these. We have the flavor you're looking for." And so he went out of his way to just like let me know I have the product.
Perfect example of like that would have never existed.
Yeah.
He would have never reached out. Oh, find me another drink customer? Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah.
That brings up a whole other note is that a great way to help out. I mean, it kind of goes along with it, but a great way to help out your overall commission in general is to not just focus on the ones that are helping the company, but try and deter the ones that are hurting your commission.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, you definitely would.
Yeah. That is something that I assume execs maybe think about it, but they clearly aren't implementing it or taking it into account enough, because that is a huge flaw.
For sure. And I don't want to cut you off, Ryan. You look like you still have some. Okay.
Sorry.
No, he's good. But I think that they do. But I also think there is a real issue, and luckily I haven't experienced this too. We haven't experienced it at all, like with the company, but in just like other lines of work that I've been in or different things that I've done, the thing that I notice time after time is the hubris of people who used to do your job that no longer do it, right? And I think like that's fine, and there's like a level to that I understand, but it is the like, oh, if I was in there, I could sell 20 of these in a day. I could sell, it's like the guy who, is the GM of a car lot and was like, oh, if I was on the floor, I could sell 30 cars a day. And you're like, dude, you haven't sold a car in 20 years. Like, I get why you're saying that, but like, I think you are glamorizing this. Like you're romanticizing how this actually is. And you might be a little off on like, oh, enthusiasm alone, I could sell 25 of these a day. And you're like, dude, no, you could not regularly. You definitely could not.
Yeah, maybe one day. Or, not one day, but like one time.
Right.
For one
if
day.
you had to, you could bring yourself to do it for one day. And it's like, and you don't realize like the end. So I think that does exist where they're like, no, I remember doing it. They just need to be doing this. And it's like, I think you also get into this situation, and I've experienced this, especially in other careers too, where like, the money becomes such a focus that everything else goes out the window. The money becomes like, if we're not getting every drop out of this, you're failing. And that's the thing that I think happens is, well, why are they coming in to buy drinks? Like, why aren't you telling them to get other stuff? Because you're like, dude, do you know what it's like to take a drink customer and try to convert them into something else? Blow my brains out. Like Ian tells a story about him going to a different supplement store, like out of state. It wasn't anybody we work with or anything like that. He was just dropping in because he knew they had Ghost energy drinks. And so he went in and he was like, hey, just like walking in, and he had his like, I'm going into a different supplement store, kind of like the sunglasses on, kind of thing. And he's like, he walks in and the guy's like, hey, how's it going, man? And Ian's like, oh, I'm doing good, man. How you doing today? And he's like, oh, I'm doing good. And Ian's like, man, just looking for the drink fridge. Like, and the guy's like, oh, it's right over here. And Ian like grabbed the drink and like set it up on the counter and like took his card out and stuff, like all the visuals cues. Like, I'm just getting a drink, dude. Like, let me just get through this. And the guy's like wouldn't ring up the drink right away and was like, oh man, well, what other stuff are you taking? And Ian's like, oh, man, just lots of different stuff, like, but just needing the drink today, And the guy's like, oh, okay, well, like, what's your goal? And Ian's like, dude, no, just the usual stuff. Like, it's all going good. I just need to get a drink. And the guy's like, well, man, why don't you, we can get you over here. We could do some measurements on you, man. And then we could take you around the store and show you some other stuff. And Ian's like, bro, I just want the drink, man. And the guy's like, oh, no, man. But, here, why don't I just and Ian's like, bro, the drink, that's it. And you're like, and that's the thing that I think that maybe if you're stepped away, or maybe the real thing that's happening here is gone are the days of people being the like executives of a company that actually know what it's like to work on the ground level and like actually be in there.
Yeah.
I'm curious if that is like, you know what I mean? I'm always interested in that, where it's like, this guy was the CEO of, you know, like this trash can company. And you're like, oh, okay. And he's like, and next he's the CEO of Lego. And you're like, what?
That
like,
is weird how
like
CEOs kind of jump industries like that.
Right. Like you don't know anything about the industry. You just know how to be a CEO. Maybe, I don't know enough about being a CEO, I guess. But but I think it's like one of those things where I can understand in like a boardroom or something like that, how like that conversation you could somehow make it make sense of like, yeah, well, they're already in there. Like time to show them around. Customers are going to love that. And you're like, no, dude. Like they do not. Like when they're clearly just trying to buy one thing and you're like severely punishing your employee, if they just let this person do what they want to do and what they came here for. Ugh.
Yeah. No, I know we might have some hubris for how we do things, but I'm sure I'm 100% sure if you applied all the entire model to a different industry, even somewhat similar, but if you applied it to a different industry, there would be some discrepancies. There would be things where it's 100%. Like, this just doesn't work in this industry.
Yeah.
I would like to assume a lot of that, like a lot of our practices, a lot of our morals, a lot of our guidelines, our guiding principles would do really well. But I don't think I have so much hubris to think that all of them would work perfectly.
No. Well, and I think I mean more, and I don't think you necessarily going against just like, or going towards what I was saying, but it's like, I think there is that like they just I think it is so much of it just like romanticizing what it's like to actually do the day-to-day work.
Yeah.
And it's like, you remember like being good at it and you remember like, oh, this was good and customers loved me and like all this. And you're like, yeah, man. But like when you slowly are just constantly increasing these expectations, to me, like it tells me you've either lost touch or you don't want them to succeed at what this game is.
Yeah. I feel like it's a lot of like, you forget that there are customers that are going to be offended if you're trying to help them and upsell them.
1,000%.
And you're maybe even giving a little bit more credit to some people are better at upselling than others. Like simply put, like one, we don't want to be doing that at all, but some people, it is a skill.
It definitely is. Yeah.
But it's just funny that going back to the Ian situation, you put yourself in the shoes of the employee working that probably did have a commission that was somewhat based on the average sale. You get an energy drink customer. It's like, dude, I'm gonna either convince you not to buy anything or buy something bigger. Because both benefit me.
Literally, that is that's the thing that is so funny is like, because a business like it is that short term, like get the money now. I'd rather double down, like double or nothing.
Yeah.
I'd rather you give me twice as much money or I lose it all. That's better to me than it's like, dude, like why would you want that?
Dude, you could even look at it from a standpoint of okay, if we take 100 customers and we try and upsell, 100 energy drink customers and we try and upsell all of them and 50% buy more and 50% stop shopping with us forever, that looks like a win on paper, right?
Right.
But again, forgetting reputation.
Right.
That if you're just cool with 100% of them, that when they do eventually need supplements, they'll go to the store that they're used to going with and are cool with.
Right.
They know the people. They have a good relationship with them. And then you end up gaining 100% of those customers.
Dude, it's so, yeah. I mean, obviously you're preaching to me and I agree. It's just such a mind boggling thing. I just don't get, well, and obviously this is why we do things the way that we do, because like we sit here and we're just like, how in the world did you come to this conclusion that this was like the right idea? And don't get me wrong. I think a big part of that is maybe also some of the more like archaic styles of doing things. If you look a lot of these like companies that do stuff like that, they've been around a lot longer than social media has. And now it's like, if you're in Yukon, Oklahoma, a Yukon happenings post on Facebook can make or break you. Like it can be detrimental or it can be awesome for you. And so it's like, it depends on what happens, and the narrative like gets steered one way or another quickly. And so you have to always be like crossing your T's, dotting your I's with everybody. Like you can't be doing any, like no matter what is happening, it's like you've got to be friendly, because all it takes is like one person to like drag you across the rocks on a social media post to get half a bit of traction on it or enough eyes to it to where it's like, dude, your reputation can change overnight.
Can take a hit, man.
What did we talk about on the last podcast? Like the reputation of that place where the two ladies were, not exactly nice to Noah and I. And it's like, we aren't trying to hurt anybody. That's why we didn't name like who it was.
But if we were, a lot of people want to.
Right. And I'm sure like, our 7 listeners would be like, screw that place. It's just, but yeah, I mean, it just like goes to show you like how big of a deal, like reputation is everything. Like reputation is everything. If you have it's just crazy that like, why would you ever like, I'll never trade $1 for a potential bad reputation. Because that dollar is so temporary.
Yeah.
That dollar is so temporary.
Right. It's the dollar is $1 today. Reputation is $1 a month, or we'll even say 25 cents a month for the next 10 years.
Right.
Yep.
Good. It's just easy.
I'm no mathematician.
Right. But again, even if we're like, Scrooge McDuck, I want to swim in my coins. Like, it's like, I want the quarters. Like, I just don't understand. Like to me, it falls apart on every level. Like, if you're greedy, it falls apart. If you're just like, you try to be honest and like good-hearted or whatever, like have good character, it falls apart. And so it's like, if this doesn't make sense for people trying to be greedy, why does it exist?
Yeah.
I don't know. Doesn't make any sense to me, man.
I think consumers are getting to be more educated.
They definitely. Oh, well, and I think that is, again, a big part of like the social media aspect. And so it's like, if you don't want to do anybody dirty, man, like it's not good news.
Dude, going back to the Yukon Happenings page, if you haven't heard of this place is wild. It is so I'm sure most people have at least heard of HOA pages. So it's your neighborhood, so a couple hundred people in there, and dude, it's so funny the like stigma with HOA pages, because it's so true every time. There's always someone in there. There's always people in there that are complaining about the dumbest stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like people parking in the wrong part of the street or something like that. Oh, you left your trash cans out a day late, kind of stuff. And it's just like
people with nothing better to do.
Exactly. And so again, HOA it's always ridiculous. There's a couple hundred people in there. Yukon Happenings is pretty much an HOA page with thousands of people. It's all of Yukon.
Yeah.
And you can definitely get some good publicity. We've gotten a couple of good posts in Yukon Happenings page, which has been awesome and
super
helpful.
Cool.
Yep.
We love it. Appreciate anybody who's helped with those. We had a bunch on one comment, Triad as the place to go for supplements. And so that was super appreciated.
Yeah. Huge shout out to everybody that did that. I honestly didn't know everybody, but I went and tried to like every
I saw a bunch of customers that had done it afterwards, and I told them appreciate it.
Yeah. Nice. But yeah, it is. I've seen some posts get real nasty on there.
And cool.
Yeah.
Bad.
And like I said, it's wild, but like, and I guess I don't know how true some of those are, and it definitely is scary, that because I mean, we have people that we're doing everything we can to be nice and helpful that just are not happy with us for one reason or another. And I'm sure that can happen, but it's this extra reason to have a good reputation, because if you're operating a business here in Yukon without the mindset of keeping a good reputation, someone on Yukon Happenings page is going to get you.
Dude. Well, it's super interesting too. And this brings up a interesting point that like tags along with this, is so much of it too, I feel like when it comes to businesses, obviously I think like in general, I'm just as guilty of this as anybody, but I hold businesses to a higher standard than I hold people, as if businesses aren't just people. But I do hold a business like to a higher standard. And it's like the way a business reacts to that is like everything to me. Like if a business is like either on, like like I'll bring up a good example. I won't name the where it was or anything, but I was on Reddit one day, and Reddit has like an Oklahoma City page, and not dissimilar to, Yukon happenings.
You're a big Reddit guy, aren't you?
I can be, for sure. There's a lot of interesting stuff on Reddit. Anyway, it's like, so there's an Oklahoma City page, and it's kind of similar to like the Yukon happenings, but there's a whole bunch of people in that one too. It's probably less people total, but there are people praising places and things and talking about things. There are people talking smack. Like there's all sorts of stuff, right? And a certain restaurant got named on there negatively, like real negatively. They were saying like, we went, my wife and I, we sat at the bar, the bartender just like didn't acknowledge us, was just standing like talking with his friend and like another bartender. And then he finally came over. He was like super condescending. Like he was honestly pretty rude. Like we asked a couple of questions about drinks. He didn't really answer them and was just kind of being overall a jerk. And they were kind of saying like how condescending they are and like, like all of this stuff. And the guy like was just telling his, like, it was essentially a bad review. Right. And he was just kind of like telling his like side of the story of like what happened. And he was like, the food was good, the drinks were great, but like how could I justify coming back? And I was just, I'm just posting this out there. Didn't know if anybody else have had like similar experiences and blah, blah, blah. And somebody, like a bunch of comments on there all saying like agreeing with this guy of like, I had a very similar situation. The bartender was like this to me. The bartender was like this. And then the people were like, like stuck up server / bartenders and the name of this restaurant, they're like synonymous with each other. It's like, it's the same thing. It's the same, like it's the same word. And the restaurant got on their social media and on their story posted every negative comment, slide after slide after slide of all these people ripping their restaurant. And then it says like, if you don't effing like us, don't effing come here. And I was like, bro, what? Are you crazy? Like, okay, well, like have fun with that, like, cause I can't imagine that, like first and foremost, Reddit is not like the most openly used like platform for things. Like there are people who get on Reddit, but it's like if I meet with 10 people, there might be 2 of us that ever get on Reddit, right? Like, because it's just kind of a weird website for certain things. But like, so it's not even like this was like some big public thing, but you just made it because they posted that on their Instagram, on their Instagram story, like 15 slides of people just talking crap and then them being like, F all of you. And it's like, dude, that was such an emotional reaction. Like, man, like
so emotional.
I've never had a bad experience there, but that kind of like, that kind of turned me off. Like I kind of want to go less. Like, I'll be honest, I kind of want to go less after that. Like if you have all of these people that feel like this is the situation, maybe like as the business, you should like look into this and see like, man, if this many people feel this way, maybe we need to figure something out, not get super defensive and tell everybody to F off.
I get it, man. Like it's, as someone that's had to kind of deal with similar situations, it's an emotional thing, man. Like it's scary just to think about like someone potentially giving you a bad review. It's like, dude, like one person could like have a pretty big negative effect. Like since reviews became a thing, it gives customers a lot of power. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. But it scares the shit out of me. That's for sure.
And I get it.
But it's a huge reason to be extremely nice to every single person that comes in, because one of them could be prepared to write a bad review if they have a subpar experience.
Right.
And I get it, man. It would be so easy to have an emotional response and for it to be a very poor response. I'm sure they felt good right after they did that. Yeah. But I'm sure it didn't have a great effect. Like that it's so hard, but obviously the route that we take, not to say it's the right route, but probably better than that, is anytime we have any kind of like negative anything coming our way, is is, and you got to swallow your pride to do this. It's definitely easier said than done, but you're very good at it as well. Is like, I'm so sorry to hear that. What can we do to do better?
Right. Yeah. It's funny because I just started thinking about this, and then I realized, like, bro, somebody in that company should have just taken that phone away from that owner.
Yeah.
Just take the phone away.
Yeah.
Right. Because this is like one of the things that, like, again, like we've had so few like negative responses, right? Like, but we've had a couple, right? And for one reason or another, whether they're valid or invalid, like this is how that person felt, whether they, whatever. And like one of the first things that we like did was, you don't respond to them, right? Because like. Because like, of course it would be hard. Of course it's like the extra level of like, you're coming after like so much of what I've tried to do. And so it's like, again, but I think that's the smart thing is it's like, dude, like if somebody would have done that and like wrote a bad thing and you were going to be like, I'm going to post this on, I'd have been like, give me your effing phone, Kevin. I'm locking this in a safe for the next 2 hours. And then like,
I feel like I can have responses. Like,
I'm sure you could,
it's definitely hard. And I'm glad I've got people that are willing to take care of that kinds of stuff. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to have to wait a little while.
For sure. Well, and I think that's the thing. And that's why I said 2 hours. Like, not that you couldn't have given a good response, but it's like in that moment, of course you want to like react emotionally, but it's like, dude, you gotta do something to make sure that that's not how that's going. And we're like, cool. Like something like that'll happen. Usually what'll happen is like, the best case scenario, and I say blessed because it wasn't a great situation, but it was a situation where we did have like kind of a negative comment said about us, and I do genuinely think it was a misunderstanding, but that's doesn't make it any less real for them. Sure. But we got to be like I got to bring it to your attention and be like, hey, this is what happened. I already handled it. I already responded. Yeah. You don't have to do anything.
Are you going to listen to me yell for a minute? Though?
Yeah, right. And I'm here. Like, I brought my boxing gloves.
Dude, one of my favorite ones is, I think it's a review in Norman. And I honestly don't know who it's from, and I hope I'm not like calling them out or making any assumptions or anything, but it's honestly overall very positive. But it's a review, and I don't think it had anything. I don't know if it had any text to it or not, and it's on Google. And when they put it up, it was a 4-star review.
I know what you're talking about.
Out of 5. And at the time, we had gotten nothing but 5-star reviews, and we definitely take a lot of pride in that, and having an overall 5-star rating. Sure. Yukon and Norman both have I'll get into that later, actually. Anyway, but like we've done pretty well at keeping a pretty exact 5-star review. So this 4 is like, that's good. And, but not perfect, not what we're shooting for. And it definitely, it was a 5-star, like we had an overall 5-star review prior to this 4-star review coming in. So it bumped our rating down a little bit. And, which definitely we could go on there and look at it negatively because it's the worst review that we had. Right. And your response on there was something along the lines of, hey, first and foremost, we really appreciate you taking the time and giving us a review. 4 stars, awesome. However, we do always strive to do everything the best that we possibly can. Can you please let us know what we can do better to change, to be able to make this more of a 5-star review experience for you? And we meant it, like legitimately.
Like, what can I do next time? If this was a 4-star situation, like next time you come in, what can I do to make sure it's a 5-star situation for you?
Right. And I don't know that the person ever responded, but they changed their review to a 5-star review.
They did. Yeah. So they responded and they said, you know what? After reading your comment, I went back and really thought about my interaction, and there wasn't anything you guys could have done better for me. I changed it to 5 stars.
I love that.
Yeah, it's great, man.
He probably legitimately thought about like, what could they have done better? Well, I don't know if anything. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think there's also the level of like, because we're very intentional with that stuff. I am actually looking for feedback. I handle all of our reviews, like positive and negative, right? And so like it is something that I genuinely am looking for feedback if somebody gives us a less than a 5-star review. To the point where I put my personal cell phone number on there and I say, don't feel like you even have to comment on here. Feel free to contact me directly. I would love any feedback that could like help us because we're always striving to be the best, like anything that could potentially help us in the future. This is literally literally my cell phone number. Like call me, text me. If you don't feel comfortable with that, reach out with me any other way. Here's an email, like whatever you need. And so I do hope, and I think at least in this situation that like the guy like also appreciated the fact that like we do care. Like we care a lot to the point where I'm going to like write out this thing, like saying like, hey man, I'd love to know what we could do better.
Right.
And I think those are the kind of things that like, obviously, at least in this situation, it felt like it didn't go unnoticed that like, man, we care. We genuinely care. That was a cool one.
Yeah. It's again, going back to the, when you get something that's less than ideal as far as a review goes, like, man, I get it, dude. You put so much effort into doing everything you can to make the business as good as it possibly can be. And then someone comes in for the first time ever and just starts critiquing it. And you're like, you have no idea how much we've poured into this, and you're just, dude, you're kicking my baby. Yeah,
right.
And I get it, man. It definitely is really hard to not have an emotional response. I personally have an emotional response to it, but I don't make it public.
Yeah, sure, understandably.
But I think that the thing that's like helped me keep the mindset, the genuine mindset of, okay, if it is a negative critique, coming in whatever fashion, whether it's a review or other, is to keep the mindset of genuinely trying to learn from it is that you spend a lot of time as a business doing everything that you can, and in periods of time where you're at a plateau of, I don't really know what else to do to grow or to get better, or to take over more of the market. And when you get that negative review, not all of them are going to be good advice, but a lot of them will probably be. And where it does suck, that is genuinely one thing that potentially you could be doing better. And I'm gonna yell and scream about it privately for a minute, but I'm also gonna eventually legitimately look at it as like, is this something that we should do? I can accept this or reject this, as far as when it comes to like actually trying to implement something that like would avoid getting this negative feedback in the future.
Right.
Yeah. So it can be in a way, it can be a positive thing.
No, it definitely can. And I think that's just like you either win or you learn is like the easy thing to like go for there. It's like, and I just feel like you have to treat those situations, even when they're not fun, even when it's like something you want to yell and scream and kick and punch and like be upset about. It's like, well, okay, what's happened has happened. Like, what do we do? Like, how do we get better? Like, how do we approach this? How do we deal with this? And like, and don't let that emotional side like take over too much. Which again, I have the very unique perspective of like because I do not own the company, where it's like, oh, I get mad, but I can like compartmentalize that for a second and be like, okay, what do we need to do here? Yeah. And so it's like, and I think that that's like the owner of this restaurant or whoever's in charge of their social media needed that. Yeah. Needed that like, like, don't let me do this thing, because I'm sure he regrets it. He or she, I don't know. Yeah, but like, I'm sure they regret it. Like in retrospect, like once they calm down, they might be telling themselves they're proud of it, but like, you're not. Even
if they don't acknowledge that they regret it, their business is probably seeing at least a dent in sales.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Like,
not to mention, you're doing that to everybody that follows you. Like, not just to all these people, like the people that like disliked you probably didn't even see it.
You just like put it on. You just brought more attention to it, which is like such an interesting thing. Like,
it's all the people that like you enough to follow you on Instagram.
Right. Me. Yeah. Me, who had like never had a bad experience there. And like, and I'll be real, I've been back since and had another good experience, but and this is like the human in me like kicking in here for sure. You better believe I was critiquing. Like in my head, I was more critical than I probably should have been. Like that was probably fair for me to be. But then I was like listening in on the bartender, like, because I had just gone in for myself and just got some like to-go food. Yeah. And it's pretty close to where we live. And so I was like, literally listening to like what the bartenders were saying.
Dude, that's human nature. I would do the same thing, man.
Yeah, and like there was one thing that was kind of like, I was like, I don't know if I would have really thought too much about it otherwise, but now that I'm honestly kind of looking for it, I was like, that was a little condescending. I'm like, oh man, and I was like, but whatever. And my stuff was good, and everything was fine.
It's like you get someone in the friend group that you get along with, and then one of your friends is like, I get so annoyed by this person. They do this, this, and this. It's like it's probably not best for you probably are a little bit more critical of the friend that's
sure.
Judging the other friend, but then you start to kind of notice that friend. I'm like, man, they're kind of annoying. Like,
dude, for real though.
Yeah.
Like Kaelynn brings up the crap Will does, and I'm like, and then I'm like, oh my god, he does snore while he's awake.
Back to the awake apnea. How's the Yukon crew doing?
Doing good, man. We just chugging along. We got to eat our barbecue the other day. That was solid. We got barbecue for the competition victory.
Newbies taking home the win.
Doing our best, and that was cool. So that was good. We got some rib crib, mostly because it's just the closest barbecue place. And
I like me some rib crib.
I do too, man. Honestly, I got this like barbecue club, and it was just like a club sandwich. So like the 3 pieces of bread kind of deal, and it was like the first layer was like pulled pork, and then it was like the second layer was like smoked chicken and like bacon and cheese and like lettuce and tomato and stuff. I was pretty good, dude. I was a fan, and it really wasn't like crazy expensive. Like, I don't know, for the 4 of us to eat, it was like, I don't know, like $45.
There was
crazy.
It was a rib crib that was across the street from Supplement Superstores in Springfield, right?
Correct.
Yeah, rib crib. I got some rib crib every once in a while, and purple burrito.
I said something that pulled Ryan off of 8 Ball Pool, so I'm curious what this is.
This is important.
This is going to be.
I'm pretty sure last podcast you mentioned I could have barbecue with y'all from y'all's winnings, and I didn't get an invite.
Well,
like it's on the podcast and everything.
I don't remember this. You got proof?
I can go get it.
Literally recorded.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Just saying.
Well. Come on by. Knowing Kaelynn, she's still nibbling at her food that we bought for her. I one time brought Kaelynn breakfast one morning. We were just working together, and I ran through to get some egg white grillers from Chick-fil-A, and I was like, I'll grab a couple for Kaelynn, and like whatever. And so I go to work, and like I pull a couple of the sandwiches out and hand them to her. I'm like, hey, I got you a couple like egg white grilled. You know, I was grabbing some for myself, so why not? And she was like, oh my gosh. She goes, okay. And this was like Wednesday, and she's like, okay, I can eat this one tomorrow morning, and then I'll eat this one Saturday morning. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And I'm like, are you rationing food? Like, and she's like, no, I've got plenty of food. I just want to save these for like different. And I'm like, what? Eat the damn sandwiches, Kaelynn, you weirdo.
Have we brought up one of Kaylynn's first interactions as an employee? I'm pretty sure she was still in training. The when we did the...
Is this the 4th of July story?
The 4th of July story.
I love this story. I don't care if we have. We should tell it again.
We learned who Kaelynn was, or at least part of her personality, really quick. Have you heard the story, Ryan?
I've heard it, but I don't remember it well.
It's so funny.
So we did 1 year. This was 2019, maybe. I can't remember.
Like a squirrel with acorns, man.
Dude, so we did on 4th of July. It was whatever year 4th of July fell on a Saturday, and we decided as a group to just rent an Airbnb here in town. Nothing special about it. We actually rented a house with a pool, but then they canceled on us. They were worried that we were going to have a party. And it was like, well, we are, but like...
Not guys, even a cool one.
Right, exactly. Like, honestly, like, we're not a bunch of like high school kids. Like, we'll take care of the place.
Right. But
we just got a house, and it had a backyard. We played some croquet and whatnot. Just enjoyed the day. It was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. it had like, I think we had 4 couples staying in the house and then other people that came by for the day. And it was nice to like do it somewhere else than like anybody else's house. So we had like food for the weekend, we like had lunch. I think we cooked dinner. I can't remember all the food that we had, but like we bought a bunch of food, and it was Sunday, the day after 4th of July, and we're all like packing up our stuff. And it's like, again, this house is in Oklahoma City. I should probably specify because, other people are coming over. So we're grabbing quick breakfast, grabbing our stuff and getting out of there. Right. And Kaelynn shows up, who was not staying at the house. There was, again, 4 couples staying, and she is brand new. I think she's still in training at this point in time. And she shows up and we're like, why is Kaelynn here? Like we all like gathered yesterday.
We're like getting ready to leave.
Yeah. And we're divvying up the rest of the food to, whoever wants it. And she jumps in line to make sure that she gets some of the leftover foods, grabs it and leaves. That's the only reason she came by.
Was to snag a doggy bag and then get out of there.
Came all the way from her house to this Airbnb in like central, like North OKC, just to grab some food and throw it in her freezer probably.
I could be wrong, but I think when I was told the story that there were some of Sadie's cinnamon rolls in there, weren't there?
Probably.
Yeah.
Because I would do that for Sadie's cinnamon rolls.
No, I get that for sure. My favorite Kaelynn food story is when she was doing 75 hard. And when you're on 75 hard, you're not supposed to have any cheat meals at all. And we're at Heyday, right? And so we're just like getting food or whatever. And it's like sometimes, we're drinking a little bit and we maybe order a little bit too much food because like people were just ordering kind of on their own and whatever. And Kaelynn came across this pizza that only had like 1 slice taken from it, right? And then she's like looking around, like, all wide-eyed, right? And she's like, "Can I take this pizza?" And we're all looking at her like, "No, you're on 75 hard. Like you're trying to not have any cheat meals." And she goes, "No, I'm going to go home and I'm going to put it in my freezer and I'm going to eat it once 75 hard is over." And we're like, "Kaelynn, you have like 35 days left." Like, Kaelynn, I'll buy you a pizza afterwards. Jeez, don't eat like month-old frozen pizza. What in the world? Like, and it had been sitting there for like hours. Right? Like it's like old, like cold pizza that has not been in a fridge that she's going to go home and freeze for a month plus to thaw out and eat. Like,
I imagine Kaelynn has 2 deep freezers full of just random food at home.
Everybody else is like to go.
Everybody
half-eaten cheeseburgers and stuff.
Things with bites out of it.
Right. And to be clear, Kaelynn has plenty of food, right? Like,
yeah.
She's eating fine. She might be a bit of a food hoarder.
She is a food hoarder if there ever was
one. It is
one.
a really interesting thing. It's so, who knows where that comes from, but it's so funny. I'm going to take this pizza home and I'm going to freeze it for 35 days and I'm going to eat it afterwards. It's going to be the greatest pizza I've ever had in my life. Kaelynn, no, I will buy you a pizza. Like, and I don't even care if you fail at 75 hard. Like, you can quit and eat this whole pizza tonight. I don't care. But just say you're going to do that. Don't tell me that you're going to like freeze this old pizza for a month.
She's a weird bird.
Dude, the weirdest. It cracks me up.
We did get the chance to let her know what the cartel was today.
Yeah, Kaelynn has never heard of the cartel.
I like how this has just turned into a Kaelynn roast. Let's hear it.
I'm in on this.
Yep.
She'll be thrilled.
Yep.
We started talking about like Mexico in general and just like, how there are like different ways to go about traveling in Mexico and how like, I think some on the surface level would be deemed safer than others. Sure. But, not to say that Mexico is like some like terrible place to go, but obviously there are risks.
Be conscious and
there's
safe.
Risks everywhere.
Sure.
And it's like, and Kaelynn was like, what do you mean? And we're like, well, like there's like a lot of like cartel activity. And she's like, what? And we're like, the cartel. She's like, what's that? And Ryan and I just like kind of like side eye each other.
Oh, you
like,
were there when?
Yes. Yeah. We kind of side eye each other. And I'm like, the cartel. Don't tell me you've never heard of the cartel. And she's like, yeah, what is that? And I'm like, you're too far under the rock. I can't even explain it. Like, there's too much to break into here.
I told her the best way to figure out what the cartel was while she's going to bed tonight, just go on Wiki and search cartel stories and sell.
There's like cartel videos. It should be good.
Yeah. That's a great way to learn.
Like, get on Reddit. Search cartel video. Don't actually do that. Jeez. Well, those are like the...
Kaelynn's... All right. I've got a theory. I feel like
I have a lot.
Kaelynn was potentially, as a child for a period of time, probably a decently long period of time, was held in a nuclear bunker for a while. And
that checks out.
Missed out on a lot of things. She stores a lot of food in her freezer.
This is all coming together.
Yeah. It's I think I might have figured her out.
Dang.
Yeah.
She likes to, she's really good at, if she's low on steps, just walking in a circle in the store.
Dang.
If you're in a bunker, how are you getting activity?
That's the only way you're getting your exercise.
That's the only way you're getting exercise.
Dang. She's a bunker girl.
She is a bunker girl.
We figured you out, Kaelynn.
We knew it. Golly.
This episode goes live in what? Is it going to be next Thursday or the Thursday after?
Up to you. It could go up next Thursday.
Anyway, the next day after that, she's like, I'm putting my 2 weeks in.
She's going to let us know.
She's going to have to move.
Yeah.
We've already figured her out. She's going to move, change her identity, everything.
Anybody been to her house? Maybe she's still in a bunker.
She does move a lot.
She does move a lot.
Still continuously lives in a bunker.
This all checks out.
I feel like Kaelynn's one of our 7 viewers, but not for the reason everybody else listens to our podcast.
No, she's just waiting to see her if we talk about her.
Hey, she'll be happy we talked a lot about her this time.
Yeah. She's like, I'm not a bunker girl. Well, kind of seem like it.
Prove it.
Yeah, for real.
We'll come. Yeah, provide us with some evidence, Kaelynn. We'll talk about it on the next episode.
I love this. That's so fun. Because literally, when we brought barbecue back, I like went and picked it up and came back, and I was like, "Hey, here you go, Kaelynn." It was Thursday, and I was like, "Here you go, Kaelynn. There's chicken for you to eat on Monday." And Will was like, "Bro, Thomas."
We'll figure out what Will's situation is. There's something going on with that kid too.
I'm not done. I'm still roasting Kaelynn. My favorite thing was, so we're like ordering, and I told them like $1 amount to like keep under and whatever. And they were like, both Will and Kaelynn were both like, I want a ½ pound of smoked chicken. And that's like it. That's all I need. Like smoked chicken breast. And so it was like the ½ pound was like, it was definitely cheaper, but it was like the one meat like combo that came with one meat and then 2 sides was still within the $1 range that I told them was okay. So I actually called up to Rib Crib and I was like, hey, how much meat comes in the one meat combo? And they're like, oh, it's a ½ pound. And I was like, oh, bet. And so then I was like, thank you. That's all I needed. And so I texted the group and was like, hey, you guys who are just getting a ½ pound of chicken, the one that comes with the 2 sides still falls under the $1 amount that I asked you guys to be under. So if you don't like, because it was like a pound of chicken was just above the $1 amount that I told them. So I was like, hey, if you wanted some more food than just like the ½ pound of chicken, like you could get 2 sides as well. And Will was like, oh, bet, give me this and this and whatever. And Kaelynn was like, no, just the ½ pound of chicken. And I was like, you can have 2 sides.
Mm-hmm.
You can have 2 sides. Mm-hmm. And she's like, no, it's okay. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And so I just ordered the food. The food comes. Will gets mashed potatoes, right? And it has like too much gravy or something on it. I don't know. So he like scoops some of his mashed potatoes like off and kind of put it on a plate like to the side. And then there was some like leftover like other sides that were kind of, there's like something bean. I don't know, remember, right? And we both look, Kaelynn is like, Will, can I eat those mashed potatoes? And like that, Will kind of like scooped off his thing, and he was like, "Yeah, it was like too much gravy for me."
Yeah,
and she's like, "So I can eat that?" And Will's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Kaelynn, you could have gotten mashed potatoes. You could have literally had your own." And she goes, "Yeah, but I just didn't need to order it." And I'm like, huh? Like, you obviously want it. Like, you just ate a whole side of mashed potatoes. Like, I don't, like nothing was accomplished here. I don't understand.
Yeah.
I was like, you could have saved them for 3 months from now. You could have frozen those potatoes and like you could have eaten them later.
We've been making fun of Alyssa recently. She's been pulling some Kaelynn moves. So Kaelynn,
She being a bunker girl.
Not quite, but Kaelynn used to. There's actually a couple of funny stories. When we do meetings on Friday mornings, a lot of times we'll get coffee jerks or just something for breakfast, right? For everybody that's joining meeting, and we allow everybody to get two things. So you can get coffee and a sandwich. You can get a couple sandwiches if you're hungry. You can get whatever you want. Mm-hmm. She always strategized.
Oh yeah,
and would get one thing for breakfast and one thing for lunch.
Yep.
And I think Alyssa is the one that I think put a rule in place of like, hey, like you got what you're getting. Like you don't have to order two things. Like I always just get a coffee.
Right.
So like you got whatever you're getting, you have to have it for breakfast. But with Alyssa being pregnant, she like her crate, like she like gets hungry in like very small spurts.
Right.
So I think she'll eat something or take a shake when she's at home in the morning. And then when we get to a meeting, she's not hungry yet. So she gets her sandwich and then brings it here. And we're like, you're pulling a Kaelynn.
That's so funny.
Not to put her too much on blast, but...
we're way past that line.
No, this is for Alyssa.
Okay.
Because I got another Kaelynn story once we're done.
But Alyssa just finished her Friday sandwich today.
Love that.
Oh, that's a big Kaelynn move.
Yeah.
She had it for lunch today.
We love that.
Kaelynn would also do... she would show up to company events. This is also similar to the 4th of July story. We'll go to things like Chicken and Pickle or something, and she'll show up and, kind of hang out for a little bit, just long enough to order some food to go.
It's so funny.
She'll like set a timer on her watch. Okay, I have to be here for
she's
15
like, okay,
minutes. I can place an order and then I can leave right after that.
Yeah.
Just long enough they don't catch on to
for
me.
27 minutes and they won't ask a thing.
But we know.
So it's so funny because this is a while ago, but it was a Yukon individual store meeting, and we normally get Chick-fil-A breakfast, right? And I wasn't working, but I obviously was leading the meeting, and so like I brought Chick-fil-A, and they're like, oh Thomas, there's no more. Like, did you already? And I'm like, oh, I didn't get anything because I don't always get stuff for like whenever we're doing breakfast. And I was like, no, I didn't get anything. And they were like, and Kaelynn and Will were both like, why? And I'm like, you guys make enough money. Like, you're not this hungry. Like, I understand. Like it's okay. Like, I'm fine. Like,
I guess I get the mindset of just like, you just get into this mode of like, I will, like, if I am being allotted a certain amount of food, I have to make sure to take advantage to offset what I'm spending on food. It's like, you guys are thinking about this the wrong way.
Right. It's so funny because I didn't get anything, right? So Kaelynn was open and I was mid. So I was coming back to work at 1:00. And, like I, on my way to work, happened to grab Chick-fil-A, right? Mm-hmm. And so I show up at like 1:00, or maybe it was even noon at the time, but I think we were at the 1:00. And I show up at the 1:00 and I have Chick-fil-A, and Kaelynn's like, oh, so like, did you not get breakfast on the company card and then saved that and then got lunch on the company card like later? And I'm like, no. I did not do that. Like, you don't, these aren't credits. Like, you don't just get to like that would be Kaelynn, I love you, but that would be the Kaelynn move to like not get anything for breakfast for like 2 months and then like go buy herself like a catering order. Well, I didn't buy myself breakfast, so that meant that I could spend it on breakfast later, and I just put all of those together and I got myself a catering order.
You're treating company like company meeting breakfasts like food stamps. Yeah.
Oh god, that's so funny.
That girl.
No, and so now I think it's kind of funny. I'll go to like Pollo Campero, and one of the things about Pollo is like on their like additional item menus, you can get a grilled chicken breast, like a big one, for like $2, right? It's like $2 or $3. Like, doesn't cost much at all. Mm-hmm. So like whenever I go get Pollo or something like that, and Kaelynn's working, purely it is so worth the $3 to listen to her communicate, like talk to herself on like when she's planning on eating this chicken. It is worth $3 every time. That's the only reason I get a meal in a show because I come back and I start eating mine, and then I like pull a chicken breast out of the bag and I hand it to her, and her eyes light up, and she's like, okay, if I do this and I do that, I could eat this. I could eat on this for 3 days starting next Thursday. Like, Kaelynn.
We need to start paying this girl in food. I feel like it'd be a cheaper bill for us.
Honestly, dude.
Yeah. Ryan, you have something? No. Where were we at on time?
The bunker girl. We're almost at 2 hours, aren't we?
Yeah, we're coming up. We're still probably 20 minutes or so.
We got 20 more minutes of roasting Kaelynn.
All right. It's time to get comfortable.
I wouldn't be shocked though if you did show up to her house one day and you have 2 freezers of just like everyone's food, just kind of waiting for it to be a day for her to use it.
That would be a sight, but I would not be surprised.
She just has it like dated and said whose it is. It's like, this is Kevin's from 10/23/22.
There's stuff from back at like 2020.
Yeah.
20. She's got that pizza in the freezer still.
Eventually, she's going to get the rest of her life's food figured out. She's going to have the rest of her. She'll plan so far in advance.
That is probably what Kaelynn, if anybody who doesn't know, is notorious for. Like, she wants to get this like lifelong thing figured out. Done, check the box, put it away, tie it in a bow, it's done. Telling me like you could easily convince me that food for the rest of her life is one of those things. And she's just stockpiling.
Full on chipmunk.
Yeah.
She just has some Clark's crew from Christmas dinner 2 years ago in there. And
that's so funny.
Yeah, it's all right. That's a good question. What is the oldest item of food in her freezer right now?
I don't know, man. She's got stuff from that 4th of July.
She's got a slice of cake from her 3rd birthday.
A Sadie cinnamon roll. Sadie's like, I haven't brought you cinnamon rolls in 3 years. Oh man, half a Pride Crispy, so like frozen.
Just half.
Yeah. No, I didn't finish. I just didn't want to finish it.
No, she probably started and knew she wasn't going to finish the second
Well, it's
half.
part of the plan.
Yeah, got to follow the schedule. I bet it's all written out too.
What a dingus.
Kaelynn, we love you.
She's. I wonder how she's going to feel about this.
We went on a rant, that's for sure. I hope she knows it's coming from a loving place. I'll say, I guess I can only speak for myself.
Yeah. What Kevin said. Oh man.
The sad part is she's not going to make it to hear that part. She's going to quit listening about halfway through.
Yeah. No, she'll keep it. She'll want to listen to this.
Yeah, she probably listens through more than I do, just in case.
Just give her a code word to tell Thomas some point to see if she ever actually listens all the way through.
Ooh, what's the code word?
Banana pancakes.
Banana pancakes. You heard it here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Kaelynn, if you're listening, tell Thomas.
This is also really funny because Kaelynn and I have a code word that she's worried that I am mad at her when I'm not. Like sometimes I have a stern look on my face if I'm like doing like laptop work. And so we have a code word for if I'm actually mad at her, I say this code word and it's banana pancakes. So she's going to hear me say that and her stomach's going to drop.
I feel like you've started really taking the approach with the staff that you currently have, which is very different from where it was at Norman. But you've started taking the similar approach that I used to take when I worked with, especially Alfonso. But it's just this. It's kind of. I feel like the grumpy approach. Like if you're always grumpy, then they take you a little less seriously. You know, it's just like you just maybe that's why Ryan, Alyssa, and we're adding Ian to this now too. Kind of just it's always a little bit snarky. You know, you don't take it too seriously if they're always kind of that way. You know,
yeah. The snark tank.
Yeah, just always kind of like in a fake bad mood kind of situation. Yeah. Snark tank.
That's what it's back in the warehouse. That's what I call it, the snark tank.
This is the new name for this place.
The snark tank.
I'm going to go change location on Instagram to define the snark tank.
It is taken on a whole new level now. We got Ryan and Alyssa, which we've talked about are very similar. We got Ian on board now too, which they can all. I think they don't mind being in a grumpy mood sometimes, and yeah, it's a little much, sometimes when you are not
Kevin
that
has to
type
come
of
play with
person.
the kids sometimes at the Yukon store.
Yeah. I was okay. So I was a little offended today because I was here only for like an hour or two grabbing transfers, and everyone was fairly quiet, and I wouldn't necessarily say in a bad mood or anything, but as I got my truck packed up and I'm like about to jump in and leave, and you guys all seemed like you like started to get in a better mood, and like we're all talking and joking with each other, and I was like, are you guys just always mad at me?
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm seeing a common denominator here.
Yeah.
It was a great day.
Yeah. How much were you here, Kevin?
I was only again for about an hour or two.
Yeah, checks out.
Yeah.
Mine was like all but like 2 hours today were great.
Yeah, I feel like it's, I mean, you know, like you throw a positive into the mix and it just messes everything up. But if we keep it all negatives, 3 negatives equal a positive.
Yeah.
Again, I'm no mathematician.
Nope. But
I think that's how neutrons work.
Yeah, 3 of them.
yep.
Yep.
Just can't cut it in the Snark tank.
I cannot.
It's all right.
The Snark tank. Yeah. So yeah, anybody wanting to come transfer over to the warehouse, just know what you're getting into.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I don't know if anybody on staff could hang with the 3 of us. So
Be tough.
I can't even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
But
get Will back here for a little bit.
I think the 3 of us would have quit by then.
yeah. All right. Will's a very positive person. That would be a showdown.
You could break him.
Yeah.
I've gotten him close.
Really nice.
So we'd like to break him down.
Yeah. No. Will can put just about anyone in a positive mood, but you put him up against you, Alyssa, and Ian. I don't think Will's coming out alive.
I don't think so either.
No.
Or we're not.
Yeah. Nah. I think Will's crumbling.
Yeah. No. I my money would be on you guys
Yeah. You guys are tough.
on the Snark tank.
The Snark tank's no playground. Don't be fooled by the basketball goal. It's no playground here at the Snark tank.
We think it's just
Fun
fun.
fact, the basketball goal only gets used by Kevin.
The only positive person here.
What do you know? Yeah, ping pong's more of a snarky game.
It is. Yeah.
Haven't played in a while.
Yeah,
No time for fun and games around here.
that's right.
Yep.
The Snark tank. Let me get you guys Snark tank t-shirts.
Ooh, yeah, I like it. I haven't earned one. No.
That's all right.
I'm a large.
Oh man. Well, where we at? 2? Close?
Sure.
Yeah, if Ryan wants to go home.
Yeah.
I feel good. This was a good one.
It was a good one. It was a fun one. I feel
Yeah.
like we're coming to a stopping
This
point.
one, this one went by really fast too.
Yeah. Yeah.
We started business talk, and we kind of that rode us most of the 2 hours.
It did. Brain starting to go.
Huh? No, I actually I got tomorrow off. Got a haircut.
I got tattoos next 2 days.
Ooh,
Doing.
the spicy. Are you? How you feeling?
I'm feeling this time we're doing the outside of the leg, not the inside,
Mm-hmm.
and at least
you go in when you get these done.
yeah, it is 2 full days,
Back to
back. It's and on average about 8 hours, sometimes longer,
Per day or total?
per day. And yeah,
You're getting up there in time.
Zach will go for a while, and I'm down for it. I'm
Rather
especially
get
with
as much done.
if I'm filling out my leg, man. I'd rather just keep getting at it.
I'm with
know?
you. The leg is a tough one, and you've got so much like full black in your leg too.
Yeah, stuff
You're
is dark.
you're catching up on hours.
Yeah, I'm sure, man. How was inside of the leg versus outside of the leg for you?
Thigh or because you're just doing thigh, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. I don't think either were great, to be honest.
It was at least so like top of the thigh. The outside wasn't bad.
Yeah.
But the inside got a little sensitive. So I'm thinking it felt like the more inside he was going, the more sensitive it got. So
Yeah,
I'm like,
Daddy.
fuck, that's gonna fucking suck. And it's gonna go up there.
Yeah. Right up to your bips and your bobs.
Right? It's gonna be a real close to a tattoo gun, real close to my bobs.
Yeah, dude, you gotta. I wore because mine goes right up in there too. I had to wear myself a little nice pair of man panties while I was in there. I really did. I went and got some some I don't
Banana
know,
hammock?
like a Speedo style like underwear. Just went to Walmart and just bought like a 2-pack and just kept me all tuckered inside, all tuckered up, and then he could get up in there and do his tattooing.
I guess you don't have to like roll because I can roll up my
But then
boxer briefs, but then it's sitting there all day.
Yeah, well, like and you run the risk of popping a bob. Don't want a bob to pop out.
Absolutely
not. Poor Zach.
No, you can tell Zach's a little bit more comfortable with. You can tell he's been in those situations. Sure. He was asking me for pictures last night, and I sent him ones of front, inside, back, and outside of my leg before, and he was like, "Hey, I need same pictures, just of the outside of your leg this time, though." The ones you sent last time are the perfect angle, but I need you to pull your shorts up so I can see your entire ass cheek.
Yeah.
Zach, I usually charge extra for that.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And you were like, he's like, oh, this isn't for the tattoo.
So it was like, we're doing a tattoo on the outside of my leg. He's like, what? Tattoo?
Oh yeah, that is tomorrow. That's funny. Yeah. So I just got myself a little pair of man panties.
That's probably not a bad idea.
Dude, honestly, they're not anything I love or would wear again
Outside of that situation.
Yeah, I think I threw them away afterwards, but I don't know. Maybe go get myself a pair.
Why not?
Don't have any tattoos coming soon, but
why not?
Get Laurel a show.
She deserves it.
Yeah. We should have ended this podcast 5 minutes ago.
True. Yeah. Well,
episode 27, year plus one.
Year plus one.
Wow.
Yep. Thanks for watching, guys.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you guys sticking around for more than a year.
Just real though. That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, episode 27.
See you guys.